All right, State of the City. Mr. Pete Landrum.
Mayor Stone, Vice Mayor Garcia, wish she would have been here, but and honorable council members. Tonight I present you to State of the City 2019. The State of the City has three different purposes. The State of the City provides citizens the number one, the current fiscal accountability and operational capital accomplishments of the city, and two, presents the upcoming municipal budget. And lastly, the near future plans for the city improvements to maintain or enhance facilities and service deliveries. As city manager, I'm proud to share with the community the State of the City address and to highlight the city's 2019 accomplishments. I'm excited to share what 2020 will bring, also what projects that will get started. 2019 will be a year that the city and residents will always remember. Year that resulted in homes lost and heartache suffered as a result of the Memorial Day tornado, but also hope in our hearts from all the assistance, compassion, volunteerisms, donations, and love we felt not only from our Beavercreek community, but from all those in the region. First, I'll go through what has transpired this past year in each department, and then we'll conclude into 2020. All the city departments achieved many accomplishments this year, so I will not be able to address everything that is worthy of mentioning. If not, we'd be here till midnight, and I don't think anybody wants to be here that long. Last year, we focused on capacity, connectivity, and communication, and consistency as the core principles, and those still hold true today. Under administration, which covers a lot of things, but it's also some of the other things will be listed in other departments under administration, but we continued ongoing communication with Beavercreek Township, Beavercreek Schools, Greene County, and Beavercreek Chamber of Commerce. These are vital to have. We facilitated and implemented council management strategy priorities with a new time frame. This was new, where we actually are able to do the council management in August and make July or August to make that part of the budget process so that input can be given before the budgets are developed. Continued implementing rebranding, telling our own story. Rebranding is not just a logo, that's a small part of it. Rebranding is telling your story. You know, there's a lot of news, from crime to things that are, fires or car accidents, and you hear Beavercreek, Beavercreek, Beavercreek. Well, it's important to balance all those with what's going good in Beavercreek. So we've done a lot of press releases in 19 and have successfully had a lot of stories that were picked up in the local paper by WHIO, DTN, all of them. So that's a very good thing to tell our story. Under the Finance Administrative Services Department, Finance has developed a long-term financial strategy and timeline for the city, and this included a philosophy from going from term levies to continuous, as we've done. Implemented the PACE, clean energy programs. The Finance Planning and Development runs the program, but Finance has to manage the funds for it, for the PACE. Identified FEMA qualifying expenses and summarized and filed for grant reimbursements for the May 27th tornado event. That's still going on, but it's been a lot of work for the departments and finance to do so. We're all proud of Finance awarded for the Ohio State Audit Award with distinction. It's the 9th consecutive year, and 8 of the last 9 years it has received the award with distinction. Also, for the CAFR, it's received the Certificate of Achievement of Excellence Financial Reporting, the 28th consecutive year. So kudos to the Finance Department. Human Resources, we implemented a new employee identification and building security program. Used to have the fob, remember, to get in the door. Now we have the name badges. That is a name badge. It's an entrance into a building. And it is also for those that are hourly, how they swipe with their time clock. So multi-use system helps with our security and helps with employee identification. We increased push when you talk about health insurance costs. Wellness program, we had 55% of the employees and 29% of the spouses participate in this, and this is vital to help. We believe in wellness that will help keep our health insurance costs down. Information technology, we've added additional program to Channel 5, so not so much more about Beavercreek as a city as a whole, but we actually added the council or the commissioners meeting to it. Greene County Commissioners and Beavercreek Township trustee meetings are now part of Channel 5 ongoing programming. We did complete a comprehensive review of the InTouch mailing. This was to make sure that we were getting the best rate for the bulk rate, basically, for increasing the number of residents receiving the publication. Time to time, we do get a call and asking about, do they need to send it? They can get it electronically or something like that. But unfortunately, we could do just about half of the mailings if we had specific addresses, and it would still cost more than a bulk mailing. So basically, to remove somebody would cost us additional funding than just to send it. But most people really, really love the InTouch. For the planning and development, they approved 229 commercial zoning permits so far, and approved 36 new single and multifamily house permits. Integrated SmartGov software. So this is part of that Dude Solutions that is in public services, engineering. All the departments share this, that we're still, working on, rolling out. But part of the SmartGov for zoning, they can now, residents can apply and pay for permits online. So getting ahead with the electronics and technology here. Introduced legislation to create a Beavercreek Development Corporation with the assistance of the city law director. We also applied for received state approval for the creation of citywide CRA, the Community Reinvestment Act. Hopefully that will help, both of these will help attract new investments in the areas that we've been underutilized within the city. Zoning issues issued for the tornado-related permits were 173 of them. Just a real quick year in review here. There's pretty well on pace here with comparable years. So this is the code enforcement 5-year activity. So this was through like end of November, so there's a little bit more time to go there. 5-year comparison on residential unit. We had a lot of residential units come online last year and not nearly as many this year, so we'll probably be on pace with what the previous years were. I think last year so many came at the same time, so it was more of an anomaly. Business permits for a 5-year comparison, we're pretty much on track. A little bit more last year, but we still have a month to go, but I don't know if we'll meet 2018, but we definitely beat the previous years, as you can see. This one blows me away. The commercial construction valuations, as you can see, 2018, Beavercreek, just $121 million. And the rest of the Greene County was only 98, so that tells a story there. So a lot of things going on in the commercial world. Typically in the past, you can see that Beavercreek has beaten the rest of the county, but then in 17 we didn't. And in 18 or 16 we didn't, but it looks like we've bounced back very healthy with the construction evaluations for the commercials. 2 more things for planning review here. You got development revenue. Again, it's about on pace to where it has been historically. There's a little bit more of the year to go, but pretty well on track. The impact fee, you notice how high that is, and you got to remember a lot of the fees follow like a year behind. You actually start a year or 2 sometimes that you actually see construction actually happening. So like the impact fee, that's a big chunk of that is just 2 developments, and that would be the Soin Medical Hospital, the expansion, and Premier Health. So Soin's still working on theirs, and Premier Health is getting ready to open. But that's again more of an anomaly of such a huge facilities. Well, we will have another one coming online now that Children's but that's not in the impact fees area, so we won't have that. So that's another thing. It has to be in the impact fee to actually be on the list here. Moving on to the police department, successfully completed the annual CALIA audit and proofs of compliance. We graduated 15 participants of the 17th Citizens Police Academy and graduated 60 participants from the Women's Self-Defense class. I think they referred to that as RAD. This was a great hit to come back, and I think it's got a lot of future growth that's just going to boom on us. We graduated 200 children from Safety Town programs designed to educate preschoolers about safety concerns. They loved it. I mean, look at that little city. Who wouldn't want to play in that? And while they're playing, they're actually learning, learning safe things to be aware of. So that was great. I cannot see this going anywhere but up and expanding. We hosted a successful department open house and national night out events for the community, and the police department also continued internship programs by having 2 interns working with the police department in 2019. The Public Administrative Services Department completed 2019 Tree City USA requirements. That was right before the tornado came and ripped out so many trees, but we're still proud of that. We have a current application in for this year, for next year to become. We implemented Dude Solutions. That's that asset essential software. That's part of the overall software I was talking about. We have a long way still to go. We will be. We did complete a test area with a test report with the GIS data collection and development. That's where all the data from the roads and curbs and miles and pavements and stop signs and everything you can think of will be data collected and stored, and then that way we can start our capital asset inventory and capital budgeting on that through a system. We worked alongside various agencies during the Memorial Day tornadoes. Public Administrative Services, which we'll talk about here more in a bit, definitely had to coordinate much more than normal with local agencies this year. The engineering department generated 9 grant applications from the state and federal agencies with funding requests totaling over $3.7 million. They generated successful grant applications for the North Fairfield Road widening, 2 different areas, one Shakertown to Plantation, one Lawson to Fairwood, Kemp Road sidewalk improvements, and Research Boulevard resurfacing project, totaling just under $4 million in Ohio Public Works Commission and MVRPC grant money. So congratulations, thank you for all the work that staff does for the grants. We have awarded the construction contracts in 2019 on the annual resurfacing and curb replacement program, Shakertown Road Extension Project, Old Mill Lane Bridge is still going on, replacement at Knoll Drive, storm sewer improvements, National Road widening, and the Lafino Center parking lot, approximately $6.9 million in city infrastructure. Accomplished the repair and resurfacing of over 10.66 centerline miles of roadway as part of the city's 2019 annual resurfacing program. I'll show you a map in a little bit, but that is down considerably because of the tornado and us having to reserve the funds. We didn't get to the alternative streets that we normally do this year. We did complete construction of North Fairfield Road resurfacing project, Lillian Lane extension, National Road widening project, Indian Ripple at Darst widening, and the Lafino Center parking lots. Those were all completed this year. So our summary of our age of our pavement, again, I'll show you another slide next that really shows what we've done in the number of miles. This shows the number of our aging infrastructure, the years of the pavements, the streets. We have made significant increases over the last 5 years of the 0 to 5 years old, and we have 92 miles, so 36% is less than 5 years old. We have much more work to go, and to be quite honest, on some of the roads, you do the easy ones, well, you do the oldest ones, but there are some more difficult ones, more costly ones out there still yet to do that you're including curbs and totally probably not just milling. You may have to literally do it from dirt up. So those will have to be identified as well. So speaking of resurfacing, here you go. So you can see in the blue line, you can see where in 18 we hit like 16 point some miles, and then this year, like we said, 10.66, and that was because of the tornado. One interesting thing though, we have been able to, if you see the green line, we have been able to keep the cost of pavement, the unit cost has been relatively really steady, which is good. We went out on our own this year, and we actually beat the county price on our own, which was fantastic. It's just we couldn't take full advantage of the better price because we had to hold back some. And I don't expect anybody to be able to hardly see this unless they're really looking, but this is just our public street pavement, the age, so you can actually see where, based on the legend on what age the street is, if you're curious about your own. Moving on to golf operations in 19 increased 14%. Food and beverage saw an increase of 5%. So they really had a good year. The rain came at the appropriate times. We dodged one on tornado damage. There was a maintenance facility, and the practice golf range, practice range shed there, the little building had some damage. But other than that, we survived it, and some trees that we had to do. But we only, I think, were closed 1 or 2 days. There was one golf outing that had to be canceled, which actually insurance reimbursed us for. But they had an excellent year this year. Moving on to Parks and Recreation, successfully passed the 9 mil renewal plus a 3.3 increase in the park levy, and they updated playground equipment, water fountains, lighting, and paved parking lots in various parks throughout the city. It was a busy year for the Parks Department. Completed the 10-year Parks Master Plan as well. And they implemented a new registration software, MyRec. Again, technology advancing. They had an older system. This is new and update, and now, again, they pay for services online through MyRec. So that's really handy. Again, software here, new technology, new transportation software. EcoLane was purchased to be used at the senior center, and this helps route and organize the pickups and deliveries of the seniors when they need rides to and from. So that's been very successful. A little learning curve, right, Mayor?
Yeah.
little learning curve. Annual memberships at the senior center increased by 147. Congratulations to the senior center. That's great. Complete phase 2 of Mount Zion master plan. And we began design on alternate burial project at Mount Zion Park as well. Just to mention, we talked about rebranding. Part of it, yes, social media is just a tool of it, but it's really meant to drive the more conversations out there and be picked up by the big media, and that's what we've done throughout the last couple years. We've had more stories in Dayton Daily News and Dayton Business Journal and various television networks. So it's been great, and it's been more positive. Just to give you a clue here compared to where we have been, just from last year at this time, Facebook is up 49%, Twitter's up 52%, and views on YouTube are up 225%, subscribers up 165% on YouTube. So it just shows that information is being now obtained more. I will say during the tornado time, it definitely took a big jump. I got many calls from the press, loved our social media because we were putting information instantly. During that tornado time, I literally could post something on Facebook for informational purposes, and I'm hearing it on the radio literally minutes later. And that's awesome, a way of getting important information out. 2019 will always be remembered in the history of Beavercreek. We'll never forget this. Maybe 2019 they'll talk about that like they talk about the Xenia tornado and different things, and hopefully definitely not as bad as the Xenia tornado as far as overall damage, but definitely was severe, and will be a night we definitely will never forget. images like this, of how many destroyed and major damage, and this just shows the path of going from the city into the township area and on out east. But 34 other communities came, and that includes ODOT. They came, and with the 12 contractor trucks, Tree Care, Bunyan, people literally cheered when they would see us working down their roads. We had started what no better term than called the thank you tour. We started last week, and we got to continue next week and the week after that. And council's definitely welcome to come. These are kind of long trips because we've map quested them where you're kind of gone all day. Mr. Donaros went a couple times by himself. I went with him. But the feedback from the communities that where we show up, we give them a proclamation from mayor and from council, the challenge coin, and our public service department made a picture with their truck, okay, the city we're going to, or community, some of them are townships, with their picture, and all of our public works guys signed the picture. And so it's for them to post as a thank you and to remember us by and remember the time by. And there was some posts there on Facebook by different Anderson Township and City of Montgomery County, just thanking and the feedback I got was, wow, we've been thanked before, but we've never had people actually come and shake our hand and do what you guys are doing. So they're appreciating our effort to acknowledge and to thank them. This is still what we have left. We have this plus half. This is only half, so we have this plus CMEX Reserve in Fairborn. We are working currently still with the county and the township to finalize the contract so we can get this chipping and being hauled away. The financial impacts of the tornado, I'm not going to read all this to you. We've put this out publicly before. The biggest unknown is the 2021, the contract that we're trying to finalize. Chipping and hauling, you don't know the compaction rate. That's the biggest thing. The compaction rate is how much it's settled or will crunch up. So they measure the overall height and length of the piles, and then they have calculations on how much they think it will compact. And bottom line is once they chip it, it's actually measured by the truckload, so with the chips. So that's how you actually end up counting it. You can only get an estimate from measuring and, but if it compacts, they say they use an average of 3 to 1. It could be 2 to 1. It could be 4 to 1. And your prices could have a wide variety depending on how it compacts. So we're still waiting on that, but in the process of that, like I said, our finance department and public service department has been meeting with FEMA weekly to submit every documentation and every ounce of expense that we can to get reimbursed for at least up to 75% and 12.5% by the state. So we are working very diligently on that. But Beavercreek's strong. There's a lot of progress. We'll talk more later about what we're doing in 2020. But you go there. It's sad to see a lot of vacant lots. It's a few homes that still are out there that kind of look untouched. We're not sure. We're going to start following up in that in 2020. But you see a lot of this and seen a lot of news articles as well of where things are being positive. So Beavercreek's strong. So now I just want to get into the budget real quick. The executive summary. This is the fiscal year January 1st through December 31st of 2020. And the budget and corresponding appropriations ordinance is being presented for consideration consistent with section 10.10 of the City of Beavercreek Charter. The state reductions, I'm not going to go here, but many years ago, 2010, they started cutting, and it led to a wide variety of challenges for the city. And millions of dollars that would normally have been here went away, and we've We've done the residents, through help of other levies and stuff, have really supported the community and believed in that, or we wouldn't have been able to do what we have done throughout these last 9 years or so. With the approval and support of the community, again, the city has been able to offset these state reductions. The city's strategy of placing continuing levies on the ballot in order to stabilize funding and secure state rollback reimbursement dollars has been successful. We are 4 for 4. We only have one more, the public service levy, street levy, that is the main operating levy. I think it's a 3.5 mil levy that is will be due in a year or two from now. But this strategy has been successful, and it has also been enabled the city to maintain the 12.5% rollback currently paid by the state. So the budget process is the same that it's been in the past years, as far as the department directors were instructed by city manager to continue the main high level of services our residents have been accustomed to while maintaining minimal fund balances, despite allocating $3 million in tornado-related expenditures. That was the challenge. We had to get the fund reserve back up, so there was really, we'll get into it, but there was one way to do it, and that was through cuts. It's a little too scary to have it be not get it back in, not get it, pretend like it never happened and continue on knowing that hopefully we'll get the FEMA reimbursement at some time very soon. We don't know when the soon is. We've heard nightmares, but we hope it's within 2020. But all it takes is a January ice storm that brings down tree limbs, brings down citywide, not just one area, that could cripple us again. So to have that fund reserve, was a smart thing of council to agree to get it back to there. And then when we do get reimbursed from FEMA, then council can decide, okay, the projects we delayed, now what do we want to do? City Council's policy objective to maintain the minimum reserve balance 20% for all operating funds was achieved, even with the street levy fund, which I just said. Public, I did want to let everybody know we do have public work sessions that were conducted on November 18th and 20th with staff and City Council. What I'm presenting tonight is a very high level overview. There is a budget book and a 5-year capital budget book to where we literally went page by page by page by page through all of it those 2 nights. So I don't want people thinking that this is it. No, you'll be able to go line by line and see every explanation that's in the line. So in a big summary in revenue and expenditures in the millions, this is all the funds, but this is, as you can see, the operating funds, general, police, street, and then your park levy funds are all above 20% threshold. Again, they did vary. The street fund did vary because of we had to cut to get to it, which we'll go into, but we're in very good back to our percentage. And again, once we get the revenue back in from FEMA and the state, we'll be able to decide then how to proceed with the projects that were delayed. When I go through revenue by category, you're talking $45.7 million in revenue. So the biggest revenue is, of course, property tax, 21.14. But I want you to look at the second largest. Second largest is grants. Now, I will say this, the grant one is overinflated by $3 million, because that's assuming we get $3 million in FEMA dollars. So without FEMA, even that is $6.8 million. That's substantial. So again, I said the property taxes account for 46.2% of the total revenue. Up slightly from the 2020 projections, are up slightly from 2019. Grant revenue is what I just said, the 6.82 in ODOT grants for infrastructure projects and $3 million in FEMA reimbursement. Intergovernmental revenue is 6.17 million, is the third largest, and that includes like local government funds, cigarette tax, liquor and beer license, hotel motel tax, and gasoline and motor vehicle taxes and fees. Now, one thing that helped us part of this year and part of next year, or all of next year, will help us is the gasoline tax that we're budgeted that increased. It was $1 million that was budgeted in addition. That legislation passed at the state level in July of 2019 when the gas tax was passed. So that has helped us be able to offset some of the cuts because the gas tax is coming in. And for next year, although it's $1 million or more money, it's $1 million more that we didn't have to cut because we got $1 million more than we normally would have. If that wouldn't have increased, we'd have had $1 million to further to reduce or delay. The makeup of the remaining revenue includes charges for services, interfund transfers, license fees, special assessments, and miscellaneous revenues. So by expenditures, here you go. And like we said, street maintenance and capital, you see where most of the funding is going on expenses. Public safety is a big part of that, of course, and smaller parts as you see there. So total budget expenditures for 2020 is 47.46. 6.95 million more than 2019. Okay, why was $7 million more just about? Well, this is due to the $3 million budgeted in newly established FEMA fund, so those $3 million in FEMA, to record all tornado expenditures, and $11.4 million in capital improvements. So, excuse me. So, as you will hear me say here in a minute, the street funds, which were the largest, 21.68, over 45% of the total budget. This includes 11.4 of infrastructure improvements. This will be the record year for capital infrastructure projects funded. Of this total, 6.08 million, or 60%, is funded through the federal and state grants. So this is our largest capital year, and especially with grants as well. Public safety, the second largest portion of the budget, 11.2 million. Parks and Rec, 2.4 million, just about 5.2%. And the remaining is a little over 12 million, is comprised of the golf course, debt service, and general fund expenditures. So by category, it's not surprising we're a driven, service-driven community. Most governments are. So personnel makes up the largest, 16.56. You see capital and contractual, and some of the contractual is capital as well. The largest category, again, is wages and benefits. Of the city's budget, this includes a salary increase, union and non-union, 2.5%, and a blended health rate increase of 9.5%. Now, that's an estimate, 9.5%. It hasn't been that for several years, but we take a guess at it, what kind of worst case scenario. We've had really good health insurance rates the last few years. Second largest component of the budget is category capital, which is 13.7 million. The majority of these expenditures relate to street funds, which includes the dedicated capital improvements as part of the 5-year capital improvement plan. Contractual is the third largest, 18.8 million. And some of these are largest budgeted within contractual include interfund charges for indirect costs, resurfacing of streets and curb repair program, 1.4 million. Now that 1.4 million, to make note, that's normally 2.3 before the extra gas tax. So in years past, that's last 5 years, that's been about 2.3 million. So there's part of the reduction. Other professional services, including legal fees, prosecution services, liability, and property insurance, Greene County combined health services, animal control, audit costs, recreational programs, and the In Touch newsletter. Oops. All right, so again, that kind of wraps up the budget portion at a high level. Again, we do have the budget books close, so hopefully tomorrow, if not the day after, we will have all this available on the website at beavercreekohio.gov as far as the presentation as well. But now we're going to some important facts about the city. Where are we going? As we know, Beavercreek is driven by property taxes and will continue to experience effects. We have good, stable property values, which is a good thing. Property tax revenue will not, though, keep pace with continued increasing operating and aging infrastructure costs. The city continues we try to expand shared services and review consolidation strategies to create efficiencies and reduce costs. And the passage of the capital improvement street levy, as we saw, really helped. It helped for the short term, though only, as the city's aging infrastructure needs will continue. The city's capacity to maintain infrastructure needs will increase and pose funding challenges as the city infrastructure continues to age. And we're always seeking additional local agreements to continue. We'll continue in 2020 to continue to look for collaborative efforts to increase operational efficiencies while maintaining or lowering costs. So near future plans, as you just heard, a lot has happened in 2019 and the 2020 budget. We've been asking departments to do more with less, and we're going to have to continue this to produce a balanced budget each year without using reserve funds. It's easy to talk about the accomplishments. Now let's take a look at the future of 2020. Okay, the Financial Administrative Services, so under that department has multiple divisions. Finance is one. We're going to develop long-term financial strategies and alternatives to address the funding and timing of the city's levies. Implement new financial reporting application designed to increase operational efficiency and financial reporting. I told Mr. Casera next year I want to start looking at budget softwares, budget systems. The current system doesn't do that. Your budget book is created of all Excel spreadsheets and variable stuff, and we really need to get, as we have pushed technology with everything else, this is one of those things that will help us, especially with the capital components of the dude solutions for the streets and our buildings and all that are in that. Hopefully we can make then a budget system and that system talk to one another. That will be my goal. So we're going to start looking at that in 2020 and hopefully have more information to bring council in 2021. Implement financial reporting applications designed to increase operational efficiency and financial reporting, and continue, of course, a process of seeking maximum reimbursement from FEMA. Human Resources, we conduct a comprehensive review and update of all job descriptions throughout the city and complete a classification and wage analysis for all non-union city positions to determine the appropriate pay grade range and structure. We're in the middle of this. It won't be finished until next year, and then we'll be able to bring information and recommendations to council at that point in time. Review and develop more efficient hiring process through increasing efficiencies in existing process and reviewing available software to streamline the process. Again, technology, we hope to get there because as many seasonals as we hire, you know, from the parks to the grass cutters, I mean, we have 80 to 100 seasonals easy that we have to hire, and then that's not including the turnover when, you know, seasonals come and go sometimes. So it's a massive amount of processing paperwork, and so if we can automate that, that's going to be a definite benefit. Information technology, again, I've been talking about this, but we will be refreshing and updating the city's website through an upgrade with our existing vendor. That's the plan. It's a free one. We've been waiting on it for a couple, probably about a year and a half. But we did verify with them. We will be getting a refresh. Correct, Diane? All right. Planning and development in 2020. We're going to approve the amended land use plan early in 2020 by City Council. We're going to be asking Council to approve it. We'll be recommending it to City Council. We'll roll out the community reinvestment area, the CRA program, as well as the rolling out the BDC, the Beavercreek Development Corporation, and all of this is to help us with our economic development. In April 1st, 2020, is Census Day, and it starts. But you know, we've had our city planner, Randy Burkett, has done an awesome job. He's been our representative, the city's representative, council's representative in the census, and he's been attending these meetings and having us post certain stuff and providing information, and that will only get more frequent the closer we get, but he's been doing an awesome job coordinating with that. We're going to continue to work with the Miami Valley Research Park to pursue all economic development opportunities available to make the park more job ready. Review properties in the tornado impacted areas, so we're going to be doing that. We're going to continue to participate and seek funding along with the Public Services Department in Greene County and Beavercreek Township with MVRPC long-term recovery. We actually have a meeting tomorrow morning, I believe we go to. So we continue to participate and be active in that. Police Department in 2020, CALEA is going to be on-site assessment for reaccreditation for 2020. We're also going to transition into a temporary deputy chief to work directly with Chief Evers until his retirement in 2020. Yes, Chief says he's retiring. No, I believe him this time. I think he's going to be retiring, and I'll be sad to see him go. He's been an asset since I've been here to 3 years, like no other. So, Chief, I'll miss you. We're going to conduct another safety town to educate preschool children about safety concerns, and I think it'll be last year's plus on steroids probably. I think it'll grow. Public Services Administrative Services here. We have engineering. We have right-of-way acquisitions. You know, you always got to think about things ahead of time. That 5-year capital plan, what's being planned 5 years from now, you know, we'll start working on 5 years ahead of time. It's always, most of the times that when we start hitting dirt and start digging, usually the planning started about 4 to 5 years prior. So right-of-way acquisitions is before we start digging, but you got Factory Road widening, Indian Ripple, sidewalk improvements, and Lance Road extension. We're going to proceed with planned and approved local construction projects as approved in the annual capital improvement program, subject to council action. So what we laid out in the 5-year plan, we're going to proceed, but some of those, you know, you'll be approving the contracts and various things. Review the street infrastructure in the tornado impacted area. You know, engineering will have a look and review of damage. What we're finding out is overall the roads really held up for the most part, but now they're starting to get damaged even more by street grinders and different now probably demolition crews that are coming in, and so we're really having to watch that. We've been getting a couple emails which will definitely have to address the damages, especially if we can prove that it was done by a certain company that was negligent and damaged the road. So we'll have to keep an eye on that, but engineering will watch for that, as well as public services. Speaking of public services, streets, traffic, building and grounds facilities, and fleet maintenance. We're going to improve the streetscape areas to improve maintenance and replace lighting and LED heads as needed. You know, improve the streetscape, it's got to be a must. We've not been able with staffing requirements. You know, it's been years ago, but things have been put in that just really weren't maintenance friendly. We weren't able to keep up with it, and the overgrowth. We want things to look beautiful, but certain things can still look beautiful that are low maintenance. And they've done a lot of work at 35 and North Fairfield. It looks much, much better, and it will be able to hopefully maintain and keep that up with what the plan is as far as the type of trees and the type of greenery that we have. So much, much improved. Golf, some hefty goals here. Steve's going crazy. He's going to say operational revenue up by 15%. I tell you, we had a good year this year, so he's going to push. And food and beverage up by 10% is his goals for 2020. Park and recreational culture, which includes the cemetery and senior center. A lot of people don't realize that parks, that cemetery and senior center is under parks. But we're going to repave road within Rotary Park. Hey, January 1st, we become the owners of Rotary Park. And that's something that most people don't understand, that Rotary Park is actually made up of 3 different entities: the county, the township, and the park district. And the park district is still Victory Park, which everybody knows as Owens Place. That will maintain there. But the other side, the city has maintained and in partnership with it. But when you get back to the little culvert back the road and to where the ball diamonds are, that's all county property. So we have a long-term lease with the county, and we will own the front part of Rotary Park now. And so that's going to be exciting. So we're going to try to at least repave, repave the blacktop, not the, we'll be working on trying to smooth out that gravel and have other plans in the future for that. Replace a fishing dock at Dominic Lefino Park. Create a proposal plan for replacement structure for the Tobias Zimmerman barn at Warninger Park. So, as you guys know, the barn was destroyed. We have the Historical Society has been talking about it, and so we will be bringing to council some options on what can be done. Create a new 5-year plan for recreation based on 10-year master plan. Again, I can't say every one of these. I wish I could. Expand partnership with Beavercreek City Schools for summer day camp program. That was almost the best thing that had to happen is when the county wouldn't allow us to set up the temporary trailer that we use just for shelter. They wouldn't let us do it any longer because of without a hefty permit, and we didn't want to do that. But that forced us into a partnership with the city school and holding the summer camps in the gym, outside and in the gym. But that ended up being very successful last year, and the gym gave us other opportunities that we clearly didn't have before. And we'll begin construction of Mount Zion Park Cemetery Enhancement Project. We're going to also assess the senior center facility by identifying the most active days and times at the center, evaluate facility use and staffing needs versus staffing schedules. With the retirement of the senior supervisor, there's just going to be naturally a review, and it'll be good to have another a review of the process probably by the new incoming supervisor. So in closing, 2019 was a year that brought the community together, a year that will be remembered for years to come. As we look back and reflect on 2019, we were all saddened by the events of Memorial Day tornado, but we have and must continue to move forward together, neighbors helping neighbors, and continue to grow a great community. I'd like to thank the community, city council, city staff for making Beavercreek a great city and a great place to live. Thank you.
Well, thank you. Any comments from council?
I'd just like to congratulate the manager. I appreciate all your efforts in 2019. I know it's trying at times, particularly as you've said many times concerning the tornado and all the challenges, but I think Beavercreek is up to the task, and I wish you all the best in 2020 here.
Thank you, sir. All right, I'll join you.
All right.